started. Good evening and welcome to Mindful Life 255. Yeah, I'm your host Nathan Springer. Thank you for being here. It is the 17th of the 7th in the year of our Lord 2023. The year is speeding along. We're already well past midway through the year. Yeah, make sure you hit that like button. I'm streaming live right now on Instagram, on TikTok, and on YouTube. Wherever you are viewing this, make sure you hit that like button. On Instagram, you hit that like button. Over on TikTok, you double tap that screen. You really double tap that screen, and you don't have to do it once. You could do it as many times. You know, you get that wrist workout. Make sure that any carpal tunnel or anything there could be exercised out. Hit that like button. It allows the notification to go out there to more people as fast as possible. Also, if you are viewing this on YouTube on the repeat or even live, hit that like button. It really does help with the algorithm. Yeah, especially those of you viewing this on the repeat. So if you miss any of the lives, we are currently on live 255. It kind of gives the suggestion you could go over to YouTube, then Nathan Springer over there on YouTube, and catch any of these lives that you do miss. As usual, they are brought to you by Mindful Education, the educational institution that I run. We offer learning pods, homeschool style classes. We do offer full-time homeschool classes from preschool going straight up to the CXC levels, and personal tutoring for anyone needing that personalized tutoring help for any of the CXC or CAPE subjects. Be sure to message us. Let's jump into the news. At least the news that I saw for today, or at least that I'm speaking about for today. And today I released a video on YouTube, and it started off because I saw a tweet over on Twitter, the unique place that Twitter is, and someone was speaking about how when they go all around the world, they visit different places in the world, they regularly, they big up Trinidad. They tell people, come visit my country, it's a beautiful place, etc., etc. So they're pushing more people to come to visit Trinidad. And then they were saying that when they do that, the replies they get usually: crime is a social issue and can only be reduced through inequality of wealth. That is a lie, user. That is a lie, because you could go through history and look at the times of increased crime and look at the times of increased wealth inequality, and the correlation between increased crime and wealth inequality is not 1-for-1. That is not true. That is a fallacy. It is a fallacy. Now, there is a reality that increasing wealth inequality may be a signal of other things, and in societies with increased wealth inequality, you tend to see higher levels of criminality, but it is not a 1-for-1 relationship where if you want to really reduce crime, you allow more people to become wealthy. That's not necessarily true. That's not necessarily how it works. For the most part, I would say crime is a consequence of a lack of crime fighting. If you give people the opportunity to get away with doing criminality, they will become criminals. A large portion of society will become criminals if they are given the opportunity to become criminals and get away with it. Fact. Very, very good program, DJ Starchild says. You're welcome, bro. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah. So let me just browse that tweet over there on Twitter that I saw, and we jump into that. Every country I go to, and this was Major Penny, if you know who that is, I encourage people to experience TNT, and 90% of the responses are negative, recurring responses. I don't want to die or get shot, for somebody to kidnap or murder me. I don't see anything but crime in Trinidad and Tobago in the news. And many people were replying to this that the problem in Trinidad and Tobago is that we speak too much about crime. That's the problem. We speak too much about crime. The jails are overflowing, Sylvan says. Well, then build bigger jails. That's what El Salvador did. They built bigger jails. The fallacy that somehow if you give every criminal a hug, that somehow all criminals would morph into law-abiding citizens and behave good for the rest of their lifetimes in society. I don't buy that. I don't see evidence that that is true. I don't see the evidence for that. No schools. We have schools, Silver, in Trinidad. The criminals aren't lacking a free education. Every murderer, every Trinidad and Tobago murderer, every Trini murderer had a free primary school education and a free secondary school education. You could build 50,000 more schools. If the police continue to corruptly accept bribes and turn the other way to gang violence, the gangs would continue growing. Schools don't negate the effect of the gangs. It's not like one magically counters the other. That's not how it works. That's not how it works. And as I keep saying, on the societal side, yes, on the community side, you look to find your community-oriented solution. So there are some guys in my community who they're criminally minded, but I know them from young. I know how to work with them. I know some things that may work to help them. I am trying that. But from the community side, from the countryside, I can't expect the country to just be, trying to build a savannah for them and trying to put them through football training and trying to give their child free. No. If they break the law, I expect the country to put this person outside of general society to protect themselves from this person. That's understandable. And I don't think the reality is just that we speak about crime too much in Trinidad and Tobago. It's just the reality of the nature of crime in Trinidad and Tobago. A lot of these things seem like they are supposed to be solvable. They are supposed to be solvable. This is something that we're supposed to be able to get a handle on. Trinidad has so much money. We have so much resources. We have access to so much resources. And we'll get to the police, don't worry, Sylvan. And then we have access to so much resources. And then we aren't even that big of a country. Good night, John T. We aren't even that big of a country, so you're thinking, okay, with the amount of resources we have, with the size of country we have, this is supposed to be something that shouldn't be too difficult to solve. Kevon says, truth is good government by default is not good at the soft touches. Government should be focused on the hard. That has been my point, hard tasks of law enforcement, and I suppose you mean etc. And that has been my point regularly. I don't want a daddy government or a mommy government. I want the government to be rigid meta structure, not too much into the nitty-gritty of life. That's culture. That has to do with the other cultural institutions. That's how you have cultural enforcement of these things. That's not supposed to be for the government. But the government, you're supposed to take your job very seriously on that end and not overstep your bounds. But here are some of the reasons why speaking about crime in Trinidad and Tobago is such an important thing, and why people will continuously speak about it. PM Am I having a stick over there on YouTube? Yeah. PM Rowley, corrupt cops putting lives in danger. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley has revealed plans to create a specially vetted unit in the TNT Police Service to investigate corrupt police officers and government officials. Delivering the feature address at the PNM's political meeting at Harris Promenade in San Fernando on Saturday night, Rowley said that the initiative was suggested by United States security experts during bilateral talks with that country's government a few weeks ago. Nah, baby Mindful just chilling on the outside. She did wake up as soon as the live started as per usual, but she is chilling on the outside, Rooney. She didn't make an appearance tonight. But I find, and the snippet that I shared today from my main YouTube video was on this little piece that really and truly I find to be a scary revelation. Security experts that came along with the US government contingent. Now, I'm not saying that the US is the top of everything in every arena in society in the world. I don't agree with that, but I would suppose the US security experts condemn that latrine of a jail on Frederick Street. Isn't that what PSB was formed for? Well, I suppose so, Joe's red nose. But these security experts coming from the United States, I suppose that they are globally qualified. These wouldn't be fly-by-night people by and large. Their recommendation to the Trinidad and Tobago government, Saunders. Oh, it now makes sense. It now makes sense. Their recommendation to the Trinidad and Tobago government was, forget about the police. Vet a small core inside of the police and use them as your spearhead. People are criticizing Dr. Rowley for this suggestion. But if you listen to this was not Dr. Rowley's idea. As with many of the things in Trinidad and Tobago, he was advised by international advisors. And I don't think they gave this advice without researching Trinidad and Tobago's security situation. So, international observers, when looking at the current situation of security in Trinidad and Tobago, they said, here's what we do. Forget about this police business right now. You need to vet a core group and work with them. That is very scary to me. International security experts deem it that to cure the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago, you cannot work with the general police service. That irritates me about him. He doesn't lead, always needs a body to advise him. Well, that's the international way, isn't it? It's the international way. And I am wary of that way where you work with international advice consistently and continuously. I am wary of that, but it is the way of the world currently. The way of the US advising and things, and I do find it a bit strange, that US advice. Like recently I saw that the ministry has been saying that they we opening up schools to the refugees. Schools may be opening up to refugees. Migrant children may be integrated into local schools. I saw government is looking at including migrant children in the local primary school system, says Foreign and CARICOM Affairs Minister Dr. Amory Brown. And this push is coming out from the United Nations Refugee Agency. And again, the United States. Again, the United States, they're pushing that too. So, the United States does have an outsized impact on a lot of that. Nathan, I reach and take the live from here. Word up, John. Word up, continue. You go on, sir. Or you could take the likes up. I know you could really move the likes forward on that realm. The likes are wallowing right now in the low 300s. We could do better than that over on TikTok. Double tap that screen. Good night, Richard Glubman. So the US does have that influence over here, and according to the Prime Minister, we have agreed to accept it, to create within our police service what we call vetted units. Vetted units meaning groups of special police officers, men and women, who are vetted to ensure that their integrity is intact. And Rowley met with some high-level, high-ranking service chiefs, etc., to get this running. So it seems like it is well on the way. PM meets with service chiefs, announces new police unit. The Prime Minister met with security chiefs on Sunday in a 4-hour-long meeting at the Diplomatic Center. So he organized the National Security Council, brought in the Commissioner of Police, the head of the Defense Staff, the head of SSA, along with other executives inside of the security apparatus. And I guess they were going on about figuring this one out. And, I have a lot of questions on this too. That new unit, is it for crime solving or more of a kind of internal affairs? Militant Rockstar, I am not 100% sure, to be very honest with you. I suppose when the revelation is made, we'd find it out. But I have several questions in this. As with everyone, the question I've seen everyone asking here is, who is going to do the vetting? Who is going to do this vetting? Who can we get that we would hold above the imputations of corruption? Who can we get to put in that position to vet a special group of police officers who would be given, I suppose, special powers, and who would be given more money? Who do we get to do that? The idea was proposed by the Prime Minister. Are you saying that you would give the Prime Minister this authority? Are we insane? One of the opposition members already spoke about this. Munilal, a mongoose gang in the making. Opposition member of Parliament Rudal Munilal yesterday denounced as unconstitutional and undemocratic the Prime Minister's proposal to establish vetted units within the protective services, especially the police service. Speaking during the United National Congress weekly Sunday news conference yesterday, Munilal said Rowley made a dangerous contribution with the proposal. The Prime Minister made the proposal at the PNM's local government election public meeting, and we know that. Munilal, however, said that unit will be a small unit of police officers who are paid more than normal police officers, paid high, big salaries, and their job is to police the police, to police the TTPS, customs law enforcement agencies in customs, immigration, and parliament. This is unconstitutional. It is undemocratic. Wide Leather says vetting done by cabinet with input from party groups, maybe. Here's the problem with that, Wide Leather. If you are going to hold or create a special unit of police that is going to investigate politicians, government officials, how could you have government officials handpicking the group of men that would be investigating them? How does that make sense? Jaron VC says, okay, the president. Well, again, if you have the president handpick these special group of vetted police officers, the president is selected by the ruling government. Our current president was literally an active member of the People's National Movement right before she went into being the president. How is the General Police Service and the opposition, how are the people of the country supposed to trust that this is actually going to be an independent, honest group of officers? An international assessment team, like who does the first division promotion? Okay, Sylvan. So then, you're suggesting that the same team that promotes the officers up to first division, the officers who run the current police service, the same police service that the international security expert says cannot be worked with. The same people that select the people at the top of the police service is going to select the special, unique, super honest branch. Does that make sense? Kevon says, not saying that's the intention, but that's the same thing they have in Venezuela or Iraq back in the day. He doesn't have faith in TTPS no more. What's that say for peewats like us who don't have daily armed security? Yeah, I agree. What's my suggestion, Sylvan Trinidad? We're going to get into some of that. Because according to a former commissioner, Griffith, Martin George question new police units, according to former Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith. There were ways that he was going about doing that. There were ways that he was going about attempting to get this whole thing done. Former Police Commissioner Gary Griffith and Attorney Martin George have questioned the rationale behind the creation of special vetted units in the police service to root out corrupt police officers. The Prime Minister spoke about these units, we know that. In a WhatsApp reply to Newsday on Monday, Griffith described the creation of these units as senseless. You are going to have a vetted unit within the police service to vet police officers, and then who is going to vet the vetted unit? When does it end? Griffith said the exercise of rooting out corrupt police officers in the service was taking place while he was Commissioner of Police. Units such as the Special Branch, Special Operations Response Team, and the police's social media monitoring unit were involved in that exercise. He lamented that some of the units used to address the issue of rogue elements in the police service were shut down after he demitted office. We already had a mongoose squad under the late Randy B. I heard that from an ex-member of his firing squad. Yes, there were many allegations of such. Now, Sylvan Trinidad, I have said this over and over. I think one of the main things in tackling those issues inside of the police service is to remove the gang nature of the police service. Good night, positive radiation, of course, man. The commissioner and DCPs are politically appointed persons, so it's clear, no transparency. Yeah, we need to remove the batch nature of the police service. As it stands, police are pressured into supporting each other, even in wrong. Because it's the thin blue line. You don't cross the thin blue line. What's required for a warrant? Well, that's supposed to be, there's supposed to be a certain level of evidence, even if it's circumstantial in that case. And they would have to get it passed by a judge or a justice of the peace. Now, the reality is that we have seen over in recent time that police and the JPs have what you may call a kind of incestuous relationship, a relationship that is unideal for the working of the system. You see, some of these areas are supposed to be working in a kind of antagonistic role. The PSB is supposed to be in a kind of antagonistic role with the TTPS. The Justice of the Peace is supposed to be in a kind of antagonistic role with the TTPS, where the police must have a burden of proof when they go to the JPs. But no, it's widely known and it has been established by judges. So I'm not saying this just out of just thin air. I'm not making this up. Judges have made these statements over time numerously that the JPs rubber stamp the warrants from the police because there is no consequence for it. The police come, they request a warrant, it's irrelevant what they ask for, the JP gives them the warrant. Remember in the recent case with the guy that brings in the guns and sells them, etc., where he was allegedly abducted from Barbados? The judge lamented that after the judge made a ruling to return the man's property, the police went to a JP, got a new warrant to re-seize the man's property, basically trumping the judge's ruling. That's to tell you the kind of relationship between some of these JPs and the police. Yeah, but how do you even get rid of that batch thing? Checks and controls not efficient anymore, but some might say that's how they're meant to work. I think competition helps to get rid of some of that, for one. Competition, that's one. And as has been iterated, I remember reading this article about a month ago, that the promotion system inside of the police service has been tampered with since the 2000s, which makes promotion more of a random who you know, friend, lucky if you get through business. So it's not a straightforward, the best get promoted the fastest kind of thing. So that already kills competition and encourages friend business. You buddy up with the senior guy because that's how you make it to being a senior guy too. So for one, revert the promotion system to a merit-based system primarily. That's for one. I think that's primarily one. And then I think some of these things could be actively worked against when you're talking about a disciplinary force like the police service. The police service has rules and stipulations against all kind of strange stuff. Ban them youths from posting pictures with their guns. That's one. You're not in a gang. You're not here to be the cool gun guy. One. You see, there are many things in the disciplinary structure of the service that could be done to pull the service in one direction or the other. But most people, by the time they reach 50 in the police service, are overweight from all the limes they had with each other, all the drinks they had with each other, the little seas while meat that they get there, and they all make a cook with each other, and they're just overweight at 50, batch together. Are they going to sell out each other? That's not where their primary interest is anymore. So you can't have the police, you can't have the Professional Standards Bureau just coming right out of the regular service. Yes, Australian. You can't have the Professional Standards Bureau coming right out of the regular service. You don't want that. I want the regular TTPS to not like the PSB. No one in the PSB, you should be able to watch him and say, that's my batch. No. They're not your batch. They're trying to see if you're a crook to lock you up permanently. The hamper of promotion is the issue of when a promotion board is formed and when it isn't. Shahid Abdul Hamid says, well, Shahid, I read it has nothing to do with friend thing. I would beg to differ, because I read an article. I'm not speaking here just out of my own opinion. I read an article from a former police officer, a current lawyer, who iterated the changes in the promotion schemes. In the early 2000s had one change, and then around the 2010 period had another change when they attempted to change the standards, and then it was carried to court and they squashed a certain level of the standard. So it is partially a friend thing. Like I could try to pull up the article again for you. I could try to do that and you could read it for yourself. It's an article outlining the changes in promotion that the police service went through from the year 2000 till now. When someone writes the exam, he's automatically given an acting once it's available. You assume I know no police. That's what you're doing, isn't it, Shahid? You assume that I know no police officers. That's what you're assuming here. That's the assumption. I know no officers, nothing independent in Trinidad and Tobago anymore. Who investigates the PSB? Well, I guess higher level officers inside of the PSB. And Hotep, that's part of the problem, you know. It's the gaslighting that really offends me sometimes. However, the issue was when those who wrote 1 year was bypassed by those who wrote after. So you understand, Shahid, that you just said two things. You just said two things that contradict each other. You said that once you write the exam, you will be put in acting once there's a place. But the problem happens when people from the next year bypass the people from the... So which one is it? Is it once you write you get a place, or could you be bypassed by someone who writes after you? Those two things can't both be true. Promotion is based on an appraisal exam and interview. Yes, Brandon Chadia, that's true. UK, any senior public servants in Trinidad who get, their homes raided? Good question. I would like you to discuss about the employers taking advantage of employees. In what way are you speaking about specifically, Australian? Now, the Prime Minister also went on to iterate that he doesn't think it would be helped. Oh, so there is a flaw in the system, Shahid. We are getting a bit of changes here. I think I may need to pull up that article. I may need to find that article to get this discussion going, because Shahid is telling me that I hallucinated the article there. I hallucinated that piece of news that iterated when the changes were made in how promotions happen. Apparently that was not so. Those changes were not made like that. Let me see if I could find that article. I may have to do some searching over there. There's no accountability. That's exactly the problem. There isn't accountability. Permission to come in live to explain. Of course. Yes. Jump in. Jump right in. Where are you? Shahid, you have to request. If you want to come in, you'd have to request there, Shahid. Yeah, Hotep, what's going on?
I was not gonna say let you wait till the man come in the live. Let you wait till he come in. Let me wait till he come in.
Right, here you are. Welcome, Mr. Shahid.
Hello, good night, Nathan.
Good night, sir.
Yeah, bro, good night. Are you hearing me?
I'm hearing you now.
Yeah, we hear me here, bro. We hearing you.
I'm on a bad connection. You're hearing me, right?
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yeah.
Alright, so good night, Nathan. Alright, so my question is about private companies, right? Being taking advantage of the employees, as in salaries, not paying the employees' salaries on time, and when you do file, make a file to Labour Board does not do anything at all about it. What's your thought about it? Because I am going through a situation like that. A family member, we are going through a situation like that, and we have put in our file to Labour Board, right? And Labour Board is made one or two calls, but then they're saying that they really can't do anything else.
Well, first off, I have no idea about the specifics of that, so I could not know everything to do with that. It may have other circumstances surrounding it where there may be good cause, there may not be good cause. I just don't know all of the details of that. Now, the reality is, though, that the old people saying of who have more corn feed more fowl is a reality, where if I choose not to pay you and I have the money to pay a legal team to fight it, you could be in for a battle for your money, but that's just the reality of the legal system. So it has to go through the Labour Board. There's no other way I suppose it could go. What I know of Trinidad and Tobago, generally speaking, is though that the industrial court is generally speaking worker friendly in Trinidad and Tobago. So if you could, and you could find the route to the industrial court and you do that, generally speaking, the industrial court is pretty worker friendly. Yeah, Shahid.
Okay. All right. So let me and then you would have a merit list on that promotion list. So if there's an availability of 200 people and they interview 300, the first 200 would be promoted, and then the others would remain on something called a merit list, which would have a 2-year lifespan.
So you're saying that process, that song's plagued with inconsistencies, you're saying that you think, as far as you know, that process is above board and without fear and favor?
Well, you have loopholes.
How big are the loopholes?
Okay, you have those who have degrees. You have those who, if you're a lawyer, if you pass the bar, you are exempted from a lot of things, and you would go into the interview room with a better chance than the other person. As it stands right now, right, there has been interviews done for corporals. Let's say, on the top of my head, they would have interviewed, let's say, 1,500. Of that 1,500, you would have had those who wrote the corporal exam as far as 2009.
So if I'm understanding you correctly here, it seems like the main thing here now then isn't the exam, because I heard, was it this year the exam was leaked? There were allegations that the exam was leaked. So the exams seem a bit here or there. The appraisal, everyone g's top in the appraisal. So basically, the only thing that you're depending on for promotion is an interview.
It's the board, yeah.
Who comprises the board?
Well, to tell you on the top of my head, you must have the first division officers. Must be there. But remember, we also had an issue before with a commissioner of police, a full-fledged DCP versus an acting DCP. So we have to take all those things into factors.
So now hear my question. If everyone gets 100 in the performance appraisal, the exams are neither here nor there, the only thing left is the interview, and the interview is done by senior police. So then basically the promotion in the police service is based on what the senior police view of you.
Well, once you answer the questions that is given to you in a satisfactory manner,
who decides what is a satisfactory manner? The people there, right? So if you are friend, that's the allegation I was making. If you are friend with the DCP, ACP, isn't it more likely then your promotion is more assured? Because the other factors don't have as much weight. The main thing is the interview, and that's with these people. So how is that not a friend thing?
60-40 and that.
And that is the point I was making. That is the very point I was making. The police service as it stands is a friend batch rise to the top. It's not a merit based. I want only merit. No friend business in there. And that was the point I was saying, where I read, and I'm still trying to pull it up, where the former police officer went through the changes. And the point he was making is that previous to 2000, this friend only business for promotion was more difficult. He outlined changes made from 2000 till that ruling in 2010 that allowed it to systematically, basically, throughout all of the other criteria, to basically have the primary criteria just being the interview. And if the primary criteria is just the interview, it's basically on friendship with those interviewers. If we're being honest, who you know would go a very long way in that case.
But then outside of that too, crime fighting doesn't really have merit in the police service anymore. Because if you look at premier crime fighters, they hardly ever get promoted, because when you have those who, I'm not going to say hide, I need to be very careful with my words.
Yes, be careful.
Right? Those who tend to stay to the academics, they in turn would ace the interview versus somebody who's outside there, beat and patrol, making cases. They may not be able to answer managerial questions or bring it across in a manner which would please the board.
I agree, and all of that was the point that the former police was making. He was saying that previous to the 2000s, experience held so much of a weight that you could have had experienced officers rising to the top. Then they removed that experience factor to put in the education factor as having a greater weight. And then in the 2010s, they messed up even the education factor. So the education factor isn't even the biggest weight. It's not education, it's not experience, it's who you know in the interview process. And I agree. What I'm saying is, to help that, we need to revert, put back in some of the education factor, because personally, no offense meant to the police, no offense meant to you, but when I hear some of our higher ups in the police service speak, I wonder about these educational qualifications. I wonder about these educational. I see Sylvan reminding you, make sure you ain't transgress anything, Shadid. So yeah, I to me, some of the senior police, I wonder about some of those qualifications, because the speaking seems a little raw sometimes. And okay, that's one thing if you are saying these men were men experienced in the street. But if you're telling me these aren't even street experienced men, these are supposed to be the book men. These are supposed to be the creme de la creme of the intelligentsia in the TTPS. Then I am going to listen with a more critical ear. Like, if you were the king of the streets, fine, give me some green verbs. But if you're the king of the books, come now, man. So I think we should revert. And yeah, we have the educational side, but also revert to a lot more experience. The guys who are experienced should be in control. That makes sense to me. Not everyone is meant to speak to the media. Theory without practical is no good. Welcome to Trinis, where the only way to get ahead is based on your network. That is sad if true. That is sad if true.
I mean, this is kind of the run of the mill kind of Trinidad and Tobago culture. Let's be real about it. When I tell people on the outside of Trinidad and Tobago, I say, listen, y'all don't understand. This whole country is nepotism on steroids. That's just how it works, right? You can't get a job unless you know somebody somewhere. Your third uncle had to be somewhere high up in the thing. Here's the thing. That I think that's just how it is right now. And what's funny here is that it's not only that. Like, as I say already on these lives, my best friend is a police officer, and we regularly talk about the police service, obviously, right? So the thing about it is, he will tell me, listen, they would know what to do with lower rank police in terms of who gets promoted and who doesn't get promoted based on how they move, talk, think. So it's not only who you know, but it's also what you do within the police service. So a regular constable better don't even be quote unquote insubordinate, or else you staying down there. You ain't going no way past go. You ain't collecting $200. You ain't getting around to Broadwalk.
Yeah,
you ain't reaching that. You know what I'm saying?
And you know, Trinidad, that's something that kind of grinds my gears sometimes. Now, I understand from the context of what Sylvan seems to be suggesting there, that there's a social media policy, so you know, maybe you shouldn't bring the TTPS into disrepute, so you can't agree on certain things, and okay, that might be true. But sometimes it seems a bit gaslighty, like some officers deny what seems to be obviously true. I don't think he was saying that, Sylvan, that insubordination should be encouraged. I don't think that is necessarily what he was saying. He was saying that that is often used as a technique to keep people in line, even in criminality. Because I have people I'm close with who are also police officers, and I've heard stories much the same where they were privy, they were in the company of things that they thought were heading in a wrong direction, and the senior officer told him, I see you as a woman. I already see you as a woman, and you'll be insubordinate. And when they tell you that, you know it's a threat. So those things happen. Like come on, man. Let's not pretend that we don't understand how these things happen. There was an allegation in the newspaper about 6 months ago. A young lady carried a flash drive filled with evidence of people distributing children unsafe content, because some fellas out there with the sickness took pictures of girls that were underage, school girls, compiled it all together, and they were sharing it about. That person, that young lady, compiled a list of evidence with the names and numbers, etc., carried it to the station, gave it to a senior police, and it disappeared. And when she went back, she couldn't find anything about it. A lady constable kind of helped her, found it, and gave her to it, kind of inquired. That was in the news. Because the lady constable now would be afraid to be insubordinate. You see, that is the problem right there in the police service, where you say, why should we encourage insubordination? It's already a leaning on the side of hush hush, keep things quiet, keep things quiet. Careful of the social media policy, keep things quiet, keep things quiet. You know, we have to be careful not to bring the police into disrepute. Listen, the police is in as much disrepute as they could be. Trinidad, and to how is that insubordination? Sylvan, are you being purposefully simple here, Sylvan? I am saying that they will use it to claim that. Like, come on. Again, the police attitude, it exudes. That's why people are so frustrated with police. When you're explaining something so clear and simple, police would turn the simple thing into an impossibility to not understand it. No way honest police in Trinidad and Tobago did something bad. No. Not possible. You explain how it could be, and what do you mean? What does that word mean? That word means crime. They did a crime. I don't know how to pronounce that. Crime. They did a crime. All of a sudden, the police become, they become, I don't want to use any word too strong, but they can't understand anything anymore. All of a sudden, understanding crime becomes difficult. I remember a police in this very same chat, he's here right now, it was impossible for him to understand that a pregnant woman pulled at the side of the road to vomit should not be someone ticketed. He had to take about 15 minutes of explaining to understand why that's something ridiculous. I mean, these are the problems. This is the batch problem. When you must go to hell and back to explain to a police why police could be corrupt too, when it's obviously there in front of your face. Sylvan, foreign security experts, people who are at the top of your field, security, they evaluated Trinidad and said, your police service needs to be bypassed if we have to solve crime. Foreign international experts, that was their conclusion. And from that conclusion, the only thing many Trinidadian police may get is, you see, they hating and fighting down police again. What? Yeah, Ronnie, what's up?
Christopher, before me, you can go ahead.
Hello, hi, good night, everyone.
Good night, sir.
Nice platform.
Appreciated, sir.
Award for everything that you've done. But I'm bringing a little 2 cents, kind of similar to, like, basically an issue I have, right?
Yeah.
Issue hoping I change the version. Whether I order 2 sneakers and a t-shirt, right?
Oh my goodness.
I just wanted to hear what's going on, eh? I mean, it's a nice thing to laugh, but we go get down to the serious part, right?
I from the time you start, I kind of just don't know.
Yeah, you tell a little scene where notification. Again, so much notification. So I just wait a minute order something again because the price look alright. when I get the price to clear them three stuff, when I come like I buy 2 times the amount. Now nobody buy that for me in Trinidad. These people who claim that didn't buy that for me. And I want to find out if anybody who does work as, how they call them, who does clear them thing.
Customs?
Huh?
Customs
officer, right? I want to know because I think logically, if something is 60 US, you know, you go say, alright, boy. Normally, it wouldn't be under half. It would be like half and a little above. I know I could go with them with that because you know it's an item you get seal on, but not the amount. If I pay $1,000, let me pay $1,000 for them 3 items, right? Them charging me 1,200 and change, brother. To tell them 3 items, right? What really going on? Because I know those items and I don't think it have a plane that has just be bringing things alone. I believe them things be getting a squeeze in somewhere, back somewhere, and them showing you how much gas and all kind of different calculations. They're showing you how they arrive. Right? I'm telling you that these people who claim them item and then these custom officers are not human beings. I don't want to believe, even if color member to whoever make taxes or whatever, for them to go with. I don't think that they does encourage them to be so stern and good. That is pure wickedness, right? You know, I heard that private people used to have an issue with if they're paying for a rent for a store, much 30,000 and a normal guy bringing 2-3 things and then I end up and he pay no rent and then, you know, so they complain to the government and whatever. But I feel just so the law say you can bring 1 car every 3 years, you're eligible for that, right? Per person, whatever. They're supposed to be a guy could at least bring 2 sneakers in here. Not free, but you know, pay like a normal tax. It must have a normal tax. I can't pay all that money to the government of this country, right, brother? For 2 sneakers. Right? What really going on in this country? I tell you all that this is total madness. And nobody is saying nothing. And
you know,
taxes, right?
I feel you, you know.
To pay these people who claim that item there, right? Them again pay for no specialist basically. Whenever they clear the thing, they get a monthly salary. Because I know a guy who work in the port and he tell me he overtime alone is about $20,000 to $30,000 for the month, you know. Right? Because we grew up together playing football and he tell me that. And they just get a thing they just get, if I'm not mistaken, them can bring up to 4 or 5 cars for the year.
Cars? I ain't know about cars for customs officers, but bro, I don't doubt you, you know.
Not all the custom officers, the ones who are the 2 stripe. I think something like
I fully understand. Yeah, I brought in some baby utensils, some bowl, some little silicone bowl and plate and cup and thing for my baby. The thing itself cost $77 US. Well, $77 TT. And to clear it was more than double the price. That could never make sense. That could never make sense. But it's not the people who train it in the plane or the boat, wherever, to ship it in. That's down here. That's the customs and the taxes down here. The taxes from the PNM government. You know, the PNM government trying to make you buy from the local. Let's not call any groups. Trying to make you buy everything from the local. That's PNM government fail. They're trying to lock you in. So they up the taxes, but even beside that, customs in Trinidad works on a filter price, you know. Sometimes you have your invoice with the actual price on the product, and customs would look at your product and say, you know what? I don't think it was that price. I think it was a next price. And just put it as another price and charge you for that next price. You see, the benefit is, here's the benefit too. if they charge you 1,200 and you leave the sneakers and jersey there, you feel it stays there?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. But right now, presently, Nathan, it is in the courier that bring my stuff through. Right? It already reached them already. And the tracking number, if you have it or anybody have it, they could just use it and you're getting real-time information on when it shipped, when it arrived, all the states it went through, and how much pound the actual stuff was, right? Which I have in my possession, which them have also. So it has nothing to do with pretensive accuracy. It's real accuracy you're getting. We actually seeing how much pound the item was and whatever.
It's not only pound. It's not only pound. I believe part of the tax is based on the worth of the item, the cost of the item. So sometimes they deem what the cost of the item would be. They select a price and then select the percentage on that.
I know you have a lot of people is on the program, whatever, but I want to change up the vibes. But brother, if you could get somebody who not stand representing them, but somebody who really knows what's going on there and want to share, they don't want to give the real name or whatever, they could come out here and they could invite them and let them think. Because watch me, this thing, to me, I find it kind of unacceptable, right?
It is.
This starting to become unacceptable, Nathan. Last time I talked about it, we just pay tax or whatever, right? They say paying teachers, like buying things for people who maybe, sick or whatever. I understand the government is taking out a lot of money on to mind children who parents leave it. I understand it really. It really the government doesn't really be minding people in this country, and I understand that, right? I understand.
Yeah.
Here comes the bash no government, but I guess the people who work hard and really putting out, not the people who stretching out their hand and asking for something. You can't kill them people too. It come like you have to, it's a balance then. Because everybody is buying nothing. If you understand what I'm saying, everybody's not paying tax and really buying nothing. Some people just gain something, they live in somewhere, they're paying no bills, they're taking. So if you frustrate the people who honest and legitimate and working towards and want to do the right thing, what gonna happen? You tell me. What gonna happen?
Yes. You're saying the point of many people in the kind of libertarian space where they understand that when a government takes a lot of money from people, for one, it's nearly always the common man, the working class, the middle class who suffers. The rich, they could move about, they could hide their money, they could change their money around. That's not going to bother them. The poor, well, if they're too poor, then they're suffering anyhow. And then if you're just at the right level in the West, and some people like to deny that there are people like this who exist, but there are people like this who do exist, and there are people who are just leeches on the system. I once heard somebody say a proposal for voting and taxing. Once you are a net negative taxpayer, you don't get to vote. And listen, it sounds cruel, but think about this. If you get more out of the system than you put in, then should you be able to tell the people who generate the resources how to spend the resources? So if you're a net negative taxpayer, if you get out of the system, we aren't saying that you can't get any, but if you get, then you don't get to vote. So what that would cause is the people who are net positive taxpayers, they will vote on things that they want. Now, if you vote that you want to give less benefits to the poorer people, if you vote that you want to give less benefits, then they come out of their net negative place. They don't get anything from the state. So now they are no longer net negative taxpayers. So then they get back the vote. So the vote is balanced based on that. Because the reality is, what you're talking about there, Christopher Rich, is a problem we have in democracies. There are quotes about it. I can't remember the exact quote, but someone was speaking about democracies would last as long as it takes for the population to recognize that they could they could rob the other half of the population through votes or something like that. And it's the reality. Some people could decide that I want my push in a democracy is to get as much out of the system without putting anything. So they push for the government to keep taking money from people, and then the government pays out to people. That's why, for me, when you talk about building taxes, I don't like it. You talk about what the government spends on. Just now, another story that I want to pull up just briefly before we jump into some others there with Rooney. State to pay for malicious prosecution over camouflage items. So when you're paying your taxes, when they're stripping your taxes for all kind of various reasons, think of this as part of the reason that you're paying money now. The police that do no wrong. A forklift operator from Arima will receive over $100,000 in compensation from the state for his unlawful arrest and prosecution by the police in 2017 for possession of camouflage items. The alleged prohibited camouflage items were an army pouch and hat which belonged to Jarrell Jaran Bedou's brother, an officer in the defense force. The police went to his home on January 5th, 2017, allegedly to execute a warrant for arms and ammunition. During a search, they found the pouch and the hat in a suitcase, and although the police were told the items belonged to his brother, the 29-year-old was still arrested and taken to the Aruka police station, where he was initially booked for robbery inquiries. Bedo remained in custody for 3 days and 4 nights without being charged. On January 9th, he was eventually taken to the Arima Magistrates Court, granted bail and released. So he still had to pay for his release. Bear that in mind. The bail is paying for his release. Nothing wrong done. All right. On May 5th, 2017, bear in mind this happened since 2017. On May 5th, 2017, Magistrate Alicia Chankar dismissed the charge against Bedo after the police officer who charged him failed to show up in court on any of the days the case was called with any evidence. So when you're paying taxes, and you hear officers say things like, we officers do no wrong. We need more than 4%. Well, officers, that's where the more than 4% is going. When you do nonsense like that, you go pick up a man for his brother camouflage vest, don't even bother to get something to hold him on, don't go to court to explain why you did the rubbish, and now you don't care because the money doesn't come out of your pocket.
That's so sad. That is something so sad. I remember people got maliciously wounded from police years and years for that same camouflage thing, which I find that real idiotic, because if you're looking for somebody wear something or whatever, investigation could prove via video, picture, grounded, whatever, if you're looking for somebody. You understand where I'm coming from? So the evidence need to show, as in every other instant, if you're looking for the right person or whatever, right? So it looks similar to the tint, where the other day there was thing on the tint business, and a lot of people have lawsuit against them right now, and you know what they do? They put a stop now on the tint until further the commissioner thing. They put a stop on the tint, so anybody could have any kind of tint right now, because they realize it's too much things people have on them with it now. So they just put a hole on it now. Trinidad, I'm telling you, brother, it doesn't move like it has sensible people here. I'm being honest here. People from governmental thing, they're not sitting down and discussing things with the state because they don't care.
Christopher Rich, bro, it's not that they're not sensible. You have to realize after a while, a lot of things that seem crazy are that way on purpose. A lot of things that seem like they don't make sense are that way on purpose. When things are haywire, so everything there is just weird and out of control, no one has to have responsibility for it. It just goes anyway. No one is held responsible for it. You were talking about the corruption in the customs. That corruption is mirrored in nearly all of our law enforcement branches. You have corruption in customs, you have rampant corruption in licensing. Should we even start on that? You have the corruption in the police, you have corruption in immigration. The corruption is all around. I guess that's why the Prime Minister wants his specially vetted squad. Rooney had something to say there?
Yes, I did. And I did not forget. Anyway, so I was coming up about was the how would this squad be chosen, right?
Mm-hmm.
And several months ago, I would have stated, I would love if we could make a new
Flying squad.
process. You know,
Yeah.
something wrong with a new application process whereby we don't have any personal information on this person, and you run it through AI. You just qualifications alone. That's all you want to know: qualification, experience, and AI go choose. And when you're going and do the interview, you're going behind a black wall. Nothing's blind.
But then how you know the character? How you know the character of the person?
Well, that's where the problem comes in. So here what I was proposing, right? Much like you know how in America they have like the well, let's call out when they from birth, this social number, whatever.
Social security.
Yeah. So everybody gets a number, but nobody knows whose number it is. It all becomes computers basically, because we can't trust people, because if somebody is there, then they go in and say, hey boy, that is so daughter number and thing. So it will have to be computer generated. The whole system will just be AI. Well, not AI, but like computers, you know? But anyway, that's like any work, and like that would take really years to come about. Really. But, and I thought Trinis go find some way to hack the damn thing, you know, because you know we.
Like for me, if I were to just throw out ideas on how to do it, I think your possible options would be non-party voting for our board for such a thing, as in it goes to the public for a vote, and the people who are put up you don't allow parties to nominate people for that. You have to be nominated independently. Now that's just a hopeful thing, because who is to say people will vote for somebody good in the first place? That's one. The other option I have, to me, and this is the benefit that a place like the United States has, this is the benefit that they have over us in certain things. That's why, like, the United States could have an FBI, and for a very long time their FBI was generally considered to be a little more above the fray, even though now they're in some very deep waters. Some dark things seem to be going on with the FBI right now. But the benefit when you have a country as expansive as them, you could probably, if you had a problem with corruption in Texas, it was possible to go up to Oregon and probably get a team of people to come down there that are separate from everything in Texas and make changes with that. You see, that's kind of what I think you need in the police service, as I keep lamenting. The batch problem where everybody knows everyone and everyone is friends makes it difficult for these things to happen. If you could get someone from the outside to make that kind of choice, it may be better. But we saw I could see that the police service welfare group, whatever they're called, basically their union, would kick a huge fuss if some international group comes in and all of a sudden starts to determine who is going to be more highly preferred in something. CARICOM Militant Rockstar says that may be an idea. Use CARICOM for that kind of purpose. Some of the problem with that may be that CARICOM has friendship in the political fray, which may make it a bit more difficult.
Exactly. The CARICOM members and the CARICOM leader, the political, like, let's be real about that. Now, if you're talking about independent people within a CARICOM kind of structure, I could get with that kind of thing, right? So all the CARICOM countries have independent boards that do this security thing. Sure, but CARICOM itself, no man, come on, it's heavily political. Let's stop already think about the thing. This it doesn't work like that.
Like, when you think about it, CARICOM, watch West Indies cricket.
It's not. Exactly, Nathan, because West Indies cricket is deplorable, and
Yes.
I follow cricket a lot.
Yes.
I follow cricket immensely. Cricket is my second sport I love. So the thing about
Cricket is a nightmare these days.
It is a nightmare. It's a nightmare for West Indies. But the West Indies cricket board, why
Good night,
West
Sylvan.
Indies, why West Indies so this is an example why West Indies is so bad at cricket right now. Well, the West Indies cricket board and the board of selectors, they don't know how to pick players properly. They don't know how to nurture players. Plus, they have nepotism going in, so it's a Barbadian type of coalition that goes on inside of there. So the whole majority of these
That is a man who know he West Indies cricket there. But don't worry, Hotep. Dr. Rowley has come to save the day. You know, they appoint him as the some special something. They appoint him to save the day of West Indies cricket. Don't worry, sir. And you know, I think I blame some of this on a lot of the Caribbean and developing world accepting Marxist views of things. They accept that kind of leftist view of things, the collectivist view, where they're always of the view and opinion that we could form a committee to really do this thing well. While I don't have that kind of hope in humans to do that. You look for a more individualistic solution, and generally I find the individualistic solutions are much better. So maybe, and this is revolutionary. These are things that are not going to happen just like that. But who knows, there may be a possibility for some of these things when you look at how the municipal police work, etc. I think they were talking about having at least 1,000 of them by now, and they're on their way to that. So if you have a localized, voted for sheriff, and then you could have sheriffs of local areas that could select commissioners or something like that. I think a voted for sheriff of a local area would be much more trusted than the current system we have.
Well, you remember when I was saying this? Is it? Yes, in the beginning of Friday's live. Yes, me and my friend was talking about the current local government elections, and then we went into talking about the police. What's that interesting thing that I learned that day, Friday, is that the municipal police service actually have a sort of long-reaching type of jurisdiction.
They do.
So what we was what we was discussing is, because he's part of the police service, so he was saying how right now what is the idea they are going for is that they want to strengthen and embolden the municipal police service, market them out to the public, and then make them have a jurisdiction like a county sheriff's office would have. And I believe that could work, because if people don't understand Trinidad and Tobago have counties. So, we have counties, St. Patrick, Victoria, all that good stuff. So, if what kind of laments on my mind is that who is going to be the pickers of county sheriffs in this country, right? Who's going to be picking the county sheriffs? Who's going to be in charge of that?
I want that to be local government. If that is part of the local government, here's the thing. It is still going to be politically influenced. But, and this is what you look for in democratic systems. You cannot get out of influence being political or one side or one tribe or one group. What you want is that kind of antagonistic play where, your muscles work antagonistically together. If you understand what I mean by antagonistic. So your biceps and your triceps are in an antagonistic relationship with each other to allow your forearm to move. Your biceps pulls, and when your biceps pulls, your triceps stretches. When your triceps pull, your biceps stretches. So you want that kind of pushing, pulling relationship. I want it to be that the UNC controlled Shoguanas Corporation. isn't doing necessarily any favors to the PNM controlled Port of Spain Corporation. I'm sorry if you think that might be too adversarial, but I kind of want that. I want that. I would like if the Shogunas department would be glad to lock up some corrupt Port of Spain officers if they only slip into the wrong jurisdiction. That's the kind of thing I think would help Trinidad and Tobago, where at least there is competition on the basis of location, and especially with municipal officers living, I think, in most of the municipalities that they represent. So the Shogunas officers live in Shogunas. They are headed by the aldermen and the elected officials of the Shogunas borough. The people in charge of them would be the Shogunas local government set up apparatus, so the answers are at that local level. I'll prefer that. Ronnie, where disappear too?
Yeah, but this is the thing, because when me and my friends talking about local government, interestingly enough, and I'm going to say allegedly here, because he has some things to say about the current minister of local government election and why he was appointed to that said position. Now we all know Faris Alwari is a lawyer, so allegedly what the Prime Minister put Faris Alwari there for is to really enact local government reform. Now, how that local government reform is what we was debating on Friday. Now, what's interesting, I saw somebody say the same people who picks the mayor. Now, the rundown I heard on Friday was that mayors tend to overstep a little bit. Now, one particularly mayor of San Fernando. I heard the mayor of San Fernando allegedly is handing down some blatant corruption, and he is strangleholding the city corporation down there in San Fernando. So would I be for the people who pick the mayor to pick the sheriff?
But you see, Hotep, the problem here is the current incarnation any better? So yes, some mayors may have allegations of corruption, but so does the Prime Minister. It's not like there's an alternative non-corrupt solution. We're looking for the best possible solution, and to me, I think a better solution is to have it split up, have that power a bit split up. As Militant Rockstar said there, it's not alleged. The PM said that last year, clear as day. Yes, he did. And the local government minister, Mr. Faris Alrawi himself, said that he's proud that the Prime Minister, not only was he able to draft the legislation, but now he's in the implementation position. So, he was able to draft it, and now he's seeing the wonder of the law in implementation. Faris could talk. So he said that in no unclear terms. And in terms of political expediency, that may make sense, that the guy who drafts the law is there to implement the law. That may make sense. That may be a good idea. It's according to how good the law is in the first place. I've been hearing a lot about it, and I've been hearing that the aim is to increase the power of local government and all of that. But it's been woefully lacking in specifics to me. I don't know exactly what is going to happen, how it's going to happen, and I've heard some discrepancies there. I've heard that the money collected by the property tax is going to go directly into the consolidated fund, the national coffers basically, and then they will give it back to the local government. Then, in an interview, I heard Faris saying recently that no, the money is going directly to the local government. So I don't know. There are some things that seem obviously unclear in all of this.
Yeah, it's, well, what my friend said and what he thinks that is going to happen is that what the reform is going to do basically is well, obviously hand more power to the corporations, right? His thing is, what he thinks should happen in terms of local government is that the CEO of the corporation should run the local government and basically cut off the legs of the mayors and leave the mayors to do what the actual job is. So mayors write bylaws. So let the mayors stick to bylaws and not overreach their jurisdiction and start to think that they could run the corporation, because what my friend believes, and obviously what he sees down there, because he works in San Fernando, so he sees the overreaching of the corruption of certain political people. So what he thinks should happen is that there needs to be a clear separation, and not where mayors and other people can't overstep their boundaries. So leave it up to the CEO of corporations to run the local government of whatever municipality that they're in.
I agree. Because that is the job of the CEO and the mayor. As you said, that is the official job, and to me, I agree with that. But I think that is already the law. Part of the problem may be because we have political parties in Trinidad and Tobago. If you're in a constituency where the mayor is from the same party as the chairman and the CEO, and then the mayor may be a higher level ranking person in the party, then the authority of the CEO may be usurped by the mayor. And then if you're in a constituency where it's a UNC and a PNM kind of split business, you could have pushing and tugging, etc. there. So I think the case may already be outlined in the law. It's just for them to actually go along with that. Does it make a difference where the money goes? I think it does. If we're talking about giving the corporations more power, I don't mind if my building and land tax goes to my local corporation, where I could have accountability of it much more easily and I could see it spent in my local area. Now, if you tell me that you're taking my building or land tax, my property tax, putting it into the consolidated fund, the national piggy bank, and then you pinky promise me that you're going to give all of that back to my corporation, I'm sorry, I don't believe you, because I know that the government spends frivolous money paying for police kicking down someone's door for camouflage implements that belong to their brother. I don't want my money from my property tax going to paying government frivolous lawsuits, or going to paying when the government loses 50 food cards and $100,000+. I do not want my money spent like that. If it's my property tax, I want it used to the benefit of my property. So yes, I think it does matter where the money goes. I think it does make a difference where the money goes. And I think these are the key issues inside of this local government reform that they are speaking of. And the PNM is speaking regularly that this election is about local government reform. And to me, they are not iterating and explaining clearly enough what is being reformed. So many things are being said in the general, barely anything in the specific. Then you will have county taxes and national taxes. Are you willing to accept that eventuality? Are you not understanding what I'm saying, Mr.? We are talking about the already proposed building property tax. In most countries, your property taxes, or in the United Kingdom, your estate tax, goes to your local county council, your local government. They are promising that the property tax is meant for the local government. I'm not talking about a new tax. I'm talking about the tax that they are promising is meant for the local government. If you promise me my property taxes are meant for the local government, then why take it into the national coffers? Can't it just be collected and sent directly into the coffers of the local government? That's the point I'm making. I'm not talking about separating the taxes and creating a federal system in the country where now we would have a kind of state tax and a national federal. No, I'm not talking about that. Now, if you are going down that line, if you are talking about changing our government structure to redistribute power in that way, then yes, I would prefer having county taxes and national taxes. You have the impression that that would be so much worse. I am not necessarily of that view. Yeah, anyway, people, it's 11:09 and you know it's Monday. We can't start off going down to the end. I want to give a big up today, in case you all didn't notice, to Meme Mugs. Meme Mugs over there on Instagram. If you all want your own unique mugs, you could check out Meme Mugs. Or if you want your mindful mugs, just let me know. Classy stuff. So head over to Me Mugs, give them a follow over there on Instagram, and whatever you want on a mug, they could get it done. Whatever you want. But yeah, if there are no further questions or comments, any further questions or comments in the live? Trini Hotep, let me hear your closing statement, bro. Anything last to say?
Also before we close out, man, something that was interesting in the discussion Friday I was having is that apparently there's some sort of, I would say some sort of semblance of a civil war going on within the corporation between the public service and statutory, which is interesting because apparently there's a case being brought up against the public service in that regard. I don't know if that is true or not. I hear it could be going up to the Privy Council. I don't know for sure. That I will have to look up upon.
I'm not. Is it the corporations, or are you talking about this Revenue Authority business?
Is it the corporation? Because I believe. Yes, I think yes, the corporation, because any municipal police is under the corporation, right? Yes. So apparently, allegedly, the public service has been doing whatever they want in terms of their regulations on hiring police officers and that kind of thing. So I think that's the internal battle right now that is happening within that sphere.
You know. Right.
Yeah. So I mean, I always knew that was kind of going on per se, because obviously we understand that, you know, police take 4% and the rest of the public service don't be agreeing with that certain type of behavior because they want the numbers in order to get more than the 4%. And obviously, you know, Cheatham wants more than 4% and they're not backing down. So that's a particular issue I think that is going on in the corporation when it comes to municipal police. So it will be interesting to see if that case is going before any sort of court, and what that would mean in terms of what will be going on, who will be taking charge inside of the corporation with hiring municipal police, how far this municipal police thing is going to go in terms of pushing them out to the public and all that good stuff. So it's interesting to see at this present moment.
Yeah, and you know, that's not the only place where that battle is going on. Something I've been noting, like even with that camouflage business where the government is paying somebody over 100,000 now, in 15 years ago, that guy would have been harassed over his brother's camouflage, locked up for 3 days, 4 nights, and he'd have just taken that, and that would have been a horror story. He shares every so often in the line, he shares a horror story about what the police did to him right after New Year's back in 2017. But now it seems to me that lots of Trinidadians from all different levels are using the courts a lot more, and even in some of those public sector cases, the public service, I think right now, is going to court. The public service is going to court right now to challenge the Revenue Authority also, and a lot of these issues that you take for granted the government just knows is correct, sometimes they are not, sometimes they really are not. So it is what it is. Hotep jumped down there so Ronnie could see clearly. Alright, people, that is all I have for now. I hope you're educated, informed, or entertained. And I'll see you guys again for the next Mindful Live, which is going to be tomorrow night around that 9:30 p.m. time. So till then, folks, I will see you all. Laters. Peace. Tell the people bye-bye. Say bye-bye. You're not saying bye-bye? No byes for the people?